we can slide our way into the 90s. I'm going to start off by shouting out Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure, because I
I haven't
think
seen it.
that's, yeah, that's a movie, Seth, I think you need to prioritize.
I
Um,
know. It's not on anything here for some reason. Anything. It's
oh,
really weird.
I watched it on YouTube,
It's on YouTube.
like free. Like, you know how the others,
Why
like the
is
Nicole Kidman movie, is just free on YouTube?
why has no one told me this? Wow,
I've
that's really.
definitely mentioned this.
Oh, that Pinocchio film I watched is
Oh
psychological
my,
horror. You know the
Pinocchio, what, 60, what was it?
964.
Yeah.
There's a few actually. In the Mouth of Madness, 100%.
Yes.
100%. That's one of my favorites.
Would you consider?
Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I would.
Yeah,
You're
it
right.
has to be.
Yeah.
Jacob's Ladder. I would also say Funny Games, the original. You could, if you say that's like psychological
I
thriller horror. That
need
was a
to
really weird
watch that.
suggestion.
Oh my god, do I need to watch that?
I think you'd both really like Funny Games. It's kind of an interesting film where it kind of makes a mockery of its audience for searching for violence in films. It's a very notoriously
Yeah.
disturbing film, but not
That's
in a
what
way that you
everyone says.
think.
It's just like
You don't
torture
see
porn
much,
or something.
but you don't see anything.
Yeah.
You don't see it. You like it's a really interesting film in the way that it works with the cameras. It's really clever,
Yeah.
really provocative. Really gets your mind thinking. I think that's definitely in the psychological lens. And then you've also got some like not so great ones that could be in that lens. So you've got like The Devil's Advocate, which is a good film. Don't get me wrong, but like I wouldn't have it as high as others on this list. And then most of them I'm looking at here are like this was the start when I saw the found footage started to come into play with like the Blair Shit Project.
Oh, stop it.
Uh,
It's just wrong.
I mean, I guess Ring is kind of like supernatural.
Yeah, Ring we watched.
Yeah.
Oh no, we watched the remake for our.
No, you
for
watched
our-
the Naomi Watts one, not the
Yeah.
original.
That one was not that good. I'm gonna shout
Yeah, the
out from the
original was
'90s Event Horizon. Again, more of
yeah,
a
I've seen that,
science
yeah.
fiction horror, but it kind of plays out like a Gattaca type movie where it's more of a haunting character study, which just makes it very psychological. It's a very personal, super intimate movie. Seth, I'm surprised you didn't say M. Night's The Sixth Sense. Unless you did say it and I missed it, but I would
No, I
definitely.
didn't. I've always put that as a thriller person. I don't know why. I've always
Yeah,
thought that was
I
like
would
a,
see it more as like a supernatural thriller, but I think
That's
it
what I think.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it has like those psychological elements to it. I also did not realize
Same
The
as
Sixth
Misery.
Sense. Yeah, same with Misery. I did not realize The Sixth Sense has a 4.0 on Letterboxd.
yeah. It's like
Yeah, it's like
his
the highest
his
rated
films,
one. Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, that is
Misery's
nuts.
main one is horror actually.
Is it really?
I think Misery is definitely within that lens, but I would probably treat it as more of like a
Oh,
thriller. I would say.
Misery. God, every time I think of Misery, I think of that fucking the hammer scene with his ankle.
What when yeah, it's
Oh
crazy.
my
Yeah,
god,
yeah.
that's like my least favorite scene ever in any movie.
Kathy Bates is so good
She's
as Annie Wilkes in that.
so fucking good in that movie.
She's so good.
She's
It's
so
good. Tyler, have you seen Misery?
terrifying.
Mm-mm.
It's
Oh
really
my
good. I really like
god,
Misery. It's really good.
it is.
It's
just-
not a horror. It's not.
It's not. It's not. It's
It's thriller. It's thriller.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fucking scary. Don't get me wrong,
It's weird,
but
yeah, I
not
think that's a
like
really, really
yeah,
interesting
not
film.
like a scary like the general term of the word. You know.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the 2000s because I think 2000s and 2010s are where we're gonna really talk a lot about psychological horror because there's a ton to go through. We obviously in 4 days we're gonna drop our review of The Descent, so I'll shout that out first. Definitely, again, I would consider this maybe more thriller, slightly supernatural because they don't really go into who that dude is, shit like that. But definitely psychological horror. We won't go too into it because Tyler does a very good job on our real quick explaining why you could see this as a psychological horror and a couple of like these themes of like guilt and grief that go on in this movie. Another Kiyoshi Kurosawa movie. I know you've seen this one, Pulse.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
have seen Pulse, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I knew you had seen that one. One of the scariest movies I've ever seen personally, with quite possibly like one of the scariest sequences in film.
Yeah.
And
You
then
mean the like when she's walking over to him?
yeah, just
Yeah, shit's
walking.
fucking weird.
Literally,
man. It made me
she's
feel
just
so
walking,
uncomfortable.
and it's fucking
Like,
frightening.
and then she's like dancing as well because they hired
Yeah.
actual dancers to do it. I'll tell you, have
Uh,
you seen Lake Mungo? Because that's definitely in the
Yes,
psychological
yeah,
range.
I have seen
100%.
Lake Mungo. very interesting. I think that was the first ever horror movie outside of like a traditional found footage movie. That was like the first like mock documentary type of horror film I think I've ever
Yeah,
really watched. I thought it was great. I same thing with like
I
found
really liked it.
footage. Yeah, I think if you could just add any sense of realism to like your movie, especially within the horror space, it's fucking frightening. And then, of course, in the 90s, we had the Blair Goat Project, which sparked a lot of found footage in the 2000s. Paranormal Activity. Paranormal Activity. Wreck came out in 2007. Seth, you
Yeah,
have seen Wreck?
yeah, Wreck's scary, man. Like I
Wreck
actually think that like
is
that
Wreck do be scary. I might choose that
Wreck
next
do be
week for our
scary.
horror comedy episode.
You can't get away with that.
Yeah, I can't
That's
get away with that.
yeah, Wreck's
I'm
scary.
gonna shout out Let the Right One In. I know that's obviously more of like
Yeah,
vampire horror, but it's more of like a coming of age psychological horror in
I think
my
they
book.
tie in though, because like for example, like okay, the have you seen the others yet? You haven't, have you?
No.
Yeah, no, I've only been asking you to for like 2 years. Yeah, I get it. But that the others, for example, is like it's supernatural. It's a ghost story, but the themes are so heavily prevalent within her mind, within
Yeah.
a psychological nature of what she's going through. Or reveal obviously what it was, but like I think that there are many films which kind of tie two together, especially when you like supernatural psychological, like The Orphanage. I don't think you've seen, but I'd really recommend. That's a fantastic film. Um, Also, Lynch's Inland Empire, 100% psychological horror, like I was
Yeah.
mentioning earlier. But there's so many on here that could be tied in within multiple genres, I think.
Yeah, that's why I mean, I know you hold Let the Right One In probably as highly as I do, but it's
Yeah,
one
he's
of those
great.
movies where it's like it's a beautiful coming of age movie. It's maybe the best vampire movie we have out there. It's dealing with themes of friendship in this film. It's a very thoughtful tale. So like you can watch the movie and like I personally would not slap the horror genre on this movie. I don't think it's anything particularly scary. I think it's more of, this introspective coming of age film, just untraditionally told via a vampire as opposed to, just a normal middle school or whatever. It's like story of acceptance, stuff like that. Um,
What about
so
I know you watched it recently, George. Eden Lake.
yeah.
That's got to be like psychological
Dude,
thriller, horror, whatever.
I was so disappointed. And the reason I'm disappointed with that, the first sentence of the letterbox synopsis, Eden Lake is a relentlessly tense and immaculately paced horror thriller about modern youth gone wild. That is a glowing review.
Yeah, I've never seen. You rarely see that. That's like not a
That is not a
synopsis. That's like them.
synopsis. That is a
No, that's kind of
literal
weird.
review. So going into it, I was
Yeah,
like, okay, Seth gives us a 3.5. I know you and
yeah,
I pretty much align relatively well on horror. So I was like, okay, this will be an enjoyable time. In my opinion, yes, it was relentlessly tense. It was not immaculately paced. There were a lot of
yeah.
moments where I was just kind of like, this could have been cut out. This movie was 91 minutes. It could have very easily been 45 minutes if they wanted it to be.
It's just pretty. Just like it's a simple cat and mouse chase, really.
Yeah,
That's
I
like
think
all
it
it is.
definitely had its like fantastic moments of like fright and scares. But
Yeah,
it's just one of those horror movies, and me personally, when it comes to horror, I just look for a horror movie that'll leave a lasting impression on me.
yeah. No, I
Um,
get it. I get it.
yeah, like Tyler and I discussed it when we talked about The Descent in our Real Quick, dropping in a few days. The Descent is such a fantastic horror movie to me because I could rewatch it countless times and it'll still have the same impression. It'll still give me the same reaction, which is something very rare to do in horror. And
Yeah,
Eden Lake, I turned off Eden Lake and pretty much forgot what I had watched 20 minutes later.
yeah. I get it.
Seth, one movie I'd like you to watch. You have watched it. Awesome. I was going to shout out Ty West's The House of the Devil.
No, you recommended me that. I really liked it. I think I
Yeah,
liked
yeah,
it more
yeah.
than
I
you
forgot
actually.
about
What
it.
did you
Yeah,
give it?
you did. I give it a 3.5. You gave it a 4, so I'm happy to see
I
that.
really, yeah, that's like my favorite film from him. I think it's better. I have it over X and Pearl. I think it's really
Yeah,
good. I really, really
I
liked it.
think it's fantastic. It's just
Oh,
it's,
go on.
it's so psychological. I don't want to get into spoilers because I know a couple people still plan on watching it. But yeah, it's super dark, super
Martyrs
eerie.
is like Martyrs is like psychological as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that's like. Also, I don't really like. Do I like Martyrs? Okay, I mean it's fine.
I was texting one of my friends texted me the other day. He goes, "Hey, I'm thinking about watching Martyrs," and I go, "Honestly, like, don't. It's like one of the most disturbing films ever. I know his taste, so I was like, just don't watch it. Like, I really don't think you're gonna enjoy it." And he goes, "Compare it to another film," and I go, "I can't. You haven't seen a film like Martyrs," and I go, "Martyrs makes Midsummer look like a romantic comedy."
Oh, absolutely. I don't actually know. Yeah, even me, like, even though I've watched like a lot of horrible shit, like a lot of films that are really disturbing, it's not really comparable to anything. Although I
It's
think of
yeah,
anyway. Do you know what I mean?
no, it's fucking
Tyler, watch
not.
Martyrs this week. Have you been ticking off your watch list, by the way, Tyler?
Tyler,
No,
do not
I have
watch
not,
Martyrs.
but I'll get there. I'll get there.
It's October.
I know. I mean, I've been watching. I watched The Descent. I watched Eraserhead. I just got.
What? No, I didn't. I give you something though. What did I give you?
No, you gave me like In the Mouth of Madness. You gave me It Follows. There's a couple of other stuff.
I'm happy you watched The Descent. I won't spoil whether you liked it or not because you will find out on the real quick. But I'm happy you watched that movie. That's such a good movie.
It's crazy looking at the 2000s that Saw came out in 2004 and then Saw 6 came out in 2009. Like they really just cranked those freaking movies
Jesus
out like crazy.
Christ, I
Pounded
didn't
those out.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I didn't
Pounded
realize
those
it
out.
was so
Just
close
crazy.
together.
But low key, like sleeper pick, psychological horror 2000s, Coraline. I would consider that.
Oh
Victoria
shit! Yeah,
actually
it's kind
just
of a good
watched
watch.
that again like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
What did you think? Wait, again,
She loves
or
it.
like-
Yeah,
It's a-
she loves it.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I think
Um,
it's so good.
Yeah, we talked about vampires and Let the Right One In. We didn't mention Park Chan-wook's Thirst.
Thirst.
Um,
Yeah, I think Thirst could
absolutely.
be considered.
Yeah, absolutely psychological horror, I think, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like it's just like Let the Right One In, where it's like, yeah, it's like primarily a vampire movie, but they're touching on so many like themes of like loneliness, acceptance, friendship, grief, that it just turns it into like they're trying to tell a very simple story, but they're using like this vampire lens that just like kind of amplifies the experience.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the cast of Martyrs right now. Seth, you know who's in it? Who's a director?
No.
Javier Dolan.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he is. He is. He's in,
He's the Crybaby
Star.
director. The guy who quit.
He's the one who
But
did Mummy. By the way,
Yeah.
watch Mummy, both of you.
Huh.
Please. Thanks. Yeah, he is. He's at the start. I think he's like one. No, I can't remember where he's at, but I do actually remember seeing him in that. Yeah, you're right. It's interesting.